What did you make of Hillary Clinton's interview? I mean, everybody wanted to watch this. Everybody wanted this interview. Every network wanted it. And so I felt a little bit like it was, you know, that moment, the Al Capone vault moment when Geraldo opens the door and there's nothing there. I felt a little let down. What were your thoughts?
Look, I think there's going to be a lot more interviews. I think this was the first. I think expectations, were a bit too high that everything would be revealed. I think, yeah, I mean, there weren't many back and forths. There weren't many follow-ups. I kind of agree with you there. I'd like to see every candidate pressed, frankly. I don't care whether they're my favorite candidate or my not favorite candidate. I like to see the media hammering politicians because it's the media's job to do that. So I like more follow-ups in general, but I think that will exist throughout the course of this 18-month campaign. We have a long way to go.
I wanted to play this clip for you because there were, I mean, you know, obviously you're going to get some fluff answers on certain things. The one that really stood out to me, though, Ari, was obviously the topic of sanctuary cities because of Kate Steinle's murder in San Francisco. I mean, top news, top headlines, and it's causing a lot of politicians, I think, to actually reevaluate the way that they even answer this question and discuss immigration reform. When she was asked this question, I'm curious as to whether or not you were as confused by her answer as I was, because when I walked away from this, I felt as though we didn't really have a clear answer as to where she was on sanctuary cities. Listen to this.
When you last ran for president, you supported sanctuary cities in light of this terrible incident. Does that change anything about your view on this?
Well, what should be done is any city should listen to the Department of Homeland Security, which, as I understand it, urged them to deport this man again after he got out of prison another time. You know, here's a case where we've deported. He ends back up in our country, and I think the city made a mistake. The city made a mistake not to deport someone that the federal government strongly felt should be deported. So I have absolutely no support for a city that ignores the strong evidence that should be acted on.
Now, I mean, she has said before, Ari, that she's lended support to sanctuary cities before, but that's sort of how a sanctuary city works. I mean, law enforcement is not going to listen to ICE. I mean, they make that, I mean, they've openly stated that. So where does she fall on this?
Well, I think she's trying to strike a balance between, and I would say a lot of people are saying let's strike a balance here between when you have somebody who clearly has a dangerous track record, right? That person should clearly be within our law enforcement system and outside of the boundaries, as opposed to somebody who's just randomly picked up by ICE. I think she's trying to strike that difference, Dana.
So instead of, I mean, because I mean, obviously, you know, entering without permission, that's a crime. But I mean, we're talking about like violent criminals. We're talking about people who.
Well, that's a civil penalty, actually.
Well, it's still, I mean, it's still technically a crime. It's still illegal. You can't enter without permission. I mean, there's a whole reason why we have the legal entry process, which I think you would agree with me needs to be made less bureaucratic and penalize people who are trying to follow the law less. Well, I think you agree with me on that.
Yeah, we agree there.
Perfect. But I mean, to me, it seems because there have been so many sound bites, I guess, from the Democratic pool, where for many years, you know, we've heard sanctuary cities, they support sanctuary cities. And so this is where it left me, because it sounds as though now she's kind of at odds with her base. Where does the base stand on this? I mean, and plus, where is that written? What can someone do, or what can cities do, or what is the party going to include in their platform to strike this difference? Because if you're saying she's trying to strike a balance, that I don't think we've heard before in media.
Well, look, for me personally, because I can't speak for Hillary, I can't speak for the Democratic Party, I can speak for me. I think the sanctuary cities bring up a problem that we need actually a real national policy here and a real conversation to deal with something on a national level. Immigration is something that should be in the realm of the federal government, not localities. And the fact is that we have a mess in our immigration system right now, and ICE puts stress on localities, and those localities therefore respond on occasion by becoming sanctuary cities. And I think it's a problem overall with our immigration system. That is why Democrats like me have been calling for comprehensive immigration reform for years.